Hey guys, welcome to the 2019 Tables, Equations, and Graphs exam paper. This video, the way it's going to work is I'm going to go through each question one at a time, tell you guys what you need to do for achieve merit and excellence. So the best way to watch this video is to pause the video at the start of each question, try the question out by yourself, and then watch the video just to see how I got the answer. So without further ado, let's get started. So question one here, what we've got here is we've got to give the equation of the graph below. So what I'm going to do is with some of these questions, I've already done it as a tutorial, and I'll put the link in the description. Especially question one, I've covered it in quite detail. So if I go a bit too fast, you can always go check out that tutorial where I show multiple different ways of doing the same kind of questions. So with question one, I am going to use the graphics calculator just to get things out of the way. You could use, like I said, you could use a graphics calculator, or you could actually use y equals mx plus c and the other equation of the line formula as well. But just for time's sake, I am going to go into stat mode, and I'm going to need to pick 2 points. So the first point I'm going to pick out is 0 and -5. And the second point I'm going to pick up is 1 and -8. So I'm going to put these 2 points in my calculator. So I've got 1, 0. The order doesn't matter as long as you put the right x value and the right y value in the right places. So 0 and -5. Next thing you do is click on graph, click on graph 1, click on calc, and x is the one that you want to try and do. So here, you've got a gradient of -3, so that's m, and then the b value, which is this same as the y-intercept, which is -5. So our equation that we're going to get is y equals -3x minus 5. And this question here is going to get you guys an achieved. So moving to the second question, we've got another give the equation of the graph shown below. So we've got a quadratic here. And I'm going to pretty much follow the same procedure. I'm going to pick up 3 points here. So my first point is -2, -4. And I've got 0 and 0. And -4 and 0. So I'm going to go back to my graphics calculator and put in these values. So I've got -4, -2, 0. And then I've got 0, -4, and 0. Now, again, as I mentioned before, you can actually watch the full explanation video in the tutorial where I go through like multiple different ways of doing this. So in this case, I'm just going to use the graphics calculator. So click on calc, but instead of x, I'm going to click on x squared. And as you can see, that's my ABC values. Now, if you've forgotten the equation of the quadratic, it's actually given to you in the calculator. So we're just going to copy that equation down first. And then we are going to replace our ABC values. So our A is 1, 1x squared, B is 4, and C is 0. So some of you might actually like to just write it in a much simplified form, which is just x squared plus 4x. So with that one, we're going to get a grade of achieved, just the equation itself. All right, so let's go to question 3. So question 3, what you have is find the equation of the new curve if this graph shown above is translated 3 units to the left and down by 4 units. So what you can actually do in this case is I'm going to write the original equation down, which is y is equal to x squared plus 4x. Now the first part that I need to consider is translated 3 units to the left. So that basically means wherever I find x, I need to actually wherever I find x, what I need to do is I need to shift it by 3 units to the left. So that means I'm going to rewrite this as, I'm going to put this as y is equal to x, sorry, 3 units to the left. So that's going to become plus 3 squared plus 4 times x plus 3. So that's basically what that yellow part is when it says translated 3 units to the left. Now the next thing is I've got translated downwards by 4 units. So if I'm moving downwards by 4 units, I'm going to write this as x plus 3 squared plus 4 times x plus 3 minus 4. And so what I could do at this point is I'm just going to expand them all quickly. So this is going to become x squared plus 6x plus 9 plus 4x plus 12 minus 4. And I'm also going to simplify it, which means I'm going to get x squared plus 10x. And I've got 21 minus 4, which is plus 17. So that's just the simplified version from here. So let me just highlight again all the parts I've done. So that's where the x translation happened, and the blue highlighted part is where the y translation happened. And finally, the last bit of thing that we needed to do is reflect it across the x-axis. So if it's reflected across the x-axis, then what we're going to do is we're simply going to change the symbol from positive to minus and minus to positive. So in this case, we're simply going to change this to negative x squared minus 10x minus 17. So we've taken every single term there and we've actually switched its symbol, because that's what it means when it's reflected across the x-axis. So how this is going to work grades wise is getting one translation gets you achieved, getting the second one gets you a merit, and getting the third one gets you an excellence. But you don't have to do all of these steps. Like, you can actually just put the final answer as is, and you can also get excellence for this. I've just shown you guys kind of like the extended way of doing this. All right, so let's go to the next question. So with the next question, what we have got here is a parabola, and at this point here, just having a look at this particular question, we've got the first part of the question is how high in meters is the top of each pillar above the ground? All right, so basically what it's asking for is each pillar. So the pillar is actually in red. So it's actually asking for that distance there. So all we have to do for part one is put x is equal to 0 and kind of figure out what that red line is. Now, if you understand parabolas and if you understand y-intercepts, then you can kind of straight away see that this +2 is the y-intercept. So, you know, you might actually just put straight away h equals to 2, or what you can do is you can actually substitute 0 as x, and what happens is you're going to get 0 multiplied by negative r plus 2, which actually equals to 2 meters. So this question here is worth and achieved. And now we move on to the second part of this question. I had some space there, that's fine. It says calculate the value of r in the equation of the roller coaster. So some folks here might just look at that straight away, that graph, and just go, oh yeah, r is equal to 8. So how do we actually get about that r equals to 8? Well, we know what we know the first point, which is actually 0 and 2, right? So I'm going to copy that equation down. which is h. So h is equal to negative x over 2, x minus r plus 2. We also know that when 0, 2 is one of the points. So if I go back to the diagram, 0, 2 is the point right here. But we also know that this point right here is going to be 8 and 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 8 and 2 and we're going to substitute it in to figure it out. So if we actually say 8 and 2, then x is equal to 8 and h is equal to 2. So we're going to get 2 is equal to minus 8 over 2, 8 minus r plus 2. And when we rearrange this, we're going to get 2, take away 2, and we've got negative 4 times 8 minus r. So we're going to get 0 is equal to negative 32 plus 4r. And if we rearrange this, we're going to get positive 32 equals 4r, and then r is equal to 32 divided by 4. So r is equal to 8. And if you just do the correct answer in this case, like some people, as I said, like they'll look at the graph and they'll go r is equal to 8. If they do that, then you only get an achieved. But showing the working gets you a merit. And even if you just substitute this into the equation, you could actually get an achieved. All right, so let's go to part 3. So part 3, it says how high in meters is the roller coaster above above its highest point. So we're going to go back to the diagram. So what we have is we're going to find what the height of it is, and we know that halfway mark is 4 meters. So we just have to substitute 4 to actually figure out what the height is. So our equation is going to be h is equal to minus x over 2, x minus 8 plus 2, and we're going to substitute that x is equal to 4. So we're going to get h is equal to negative 4 over 2, and we've got 4 minus 8 plus 2. So we're getting negative 2 times negative 4 plus 2. When you simplify this, you're going to get 10 meters. So grades wise, correct answer only gets you an achieved. So if you only write down 10 meters, you get achieved. And merit is when you actually do it with, you've got to show the working to get a merit. All right, moving on to the next question. Some people want the roller coaster to be steeper, okay, to make it scarier. Now, again, guys, as I mentioned in the link below, that tutorial that I ran, there's a much more deeper explanation of what are all the things you could actually do. But really, they're looking for 2 valid statements in this, but you could potentially give as many as you need. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is you could make the scale factor bigger, like scale factor can actually be increased. All right, so when scale factor is increased, you are going to get, so right now the scale factor is actually negative half. All right, so if it's negative half, and if you change it from like, yeah, actually, well, it's negative half, so I guess you could kind of say that negative is because it's upside down. But if we just look at just the scale factor as like a positive value, a half, and you increase it from like a half to 2 or 3, then the graph is actually getting skinnier. So you could actually say that part of it. And the negative part of it is still just going to keep the graph upside down. So really, you could actually say scale factor is increased from half, or you could also say decreased from negative half. Because remember, if it's positive 2, then the thing is skinny, negative 2 is upside down and skinny. But so some people like to when they talk about scale factor, they're only talking about the value. They don't really consider that negative. But in this case, I'm just saying that you can kind of do both of it. The second bullet point is changing the y-intercept. So you can actually say change the y-intercept. So right now it's at 2. So increase 2 at end of equation. That actually makes the equation go higher. What else could you do? You could also make r bigger. Right now r is equal to 8. Making r bigger will change the parabola. Like it'll actually make the parabola a lot more. When I say bigger, it's like, think about it like this. So if we have 0 and 8, the parabola goes like this. But if we have 0 and I don't know, 16, then the parabola is going to go like this. So that also makes the parabola much, much bigger. So yeah, those are just 3, and there's one more in the answer schedule, which is changing, making the graph steeper will also making the graph taller. Well, that's something that we kind of talked about in the fourth bullet point. We kind of talked about it here, where if we make it steeper, so that's basically just, again, going back to the scale factor right there. So you kind of need 2 bullet points from here to get excellence. Kind of like a mundane half-written statement gets you an achieved. One statement written fully gets you a merit, and 2 statements gets you an excellence. All right, in saying that, we are going to kind of go through question 2. Okay, so question 2, what we have here is they basically just ask, sketch the graph of 3x plus 2. What I would say is you can just create a quick little table on the side here and get some values out. Now, in saying that, you can actually, again, you can actually use the graphics calculator for this, because you can just go into menu, click on table, and in table, we're going to put this equation down there. So which is basically 3 to the power of x plus 2. And we're going to click on table. But the problem is, like, and this is something that you guys need to understand, is like when you're working with 3 to the power of x plus 2, it's really a good idea just to put that 3 to the power of x in a bracket. So I'm actually going to put 3 to the power of x in a bracket, and then plus 2. Now, I mean, I know you're getting the same answers, but it's like, just to be careful with the graphics calculator, you always want to put it in brackets. One other thing that you need to do is there's a button called set. So we're going to click on this set, and right now it has a start value of 1 and it's going to 5. So a good way is just putting between -5 to 5, and when you go back to table, it's going to give you all these points here. So I'm quickly just going to drag them down here. So -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you might be wondering, how many points do I really need? In the answer schedule, it says correct shape and at least 2 points. Correct for achieved. A table of values constructed with at least 3 correct values. So you only need 3. I know I kind of just went a bit crazy here. So I'm literally just going to copy these numbers down from the calculator. Usually going backwards actually works real nice. So 4 is 83, 3 is 29, 11, 5, 2, I believe. No, 3, my bad. And then we've got 2.33, and as you can see, it's kind of going into the decimal points. So what I'm going to do is I am simply going to plot these points. So at 3, it's 29. At 4, it's at 83. Just kind of doing this roughly, guys, because 2 is 11, 1 is 5, 0 is 3. Now, at this point, the graph is always going to be above y equals to 2. So I'm simply just going to kind of draw it like that. Now, at this point, just make sure that this line is not going past the 2. And it's extremely challenging to draw with a graphics, well, what do you call it, with a stylus. So this question ends up being a merit question, but here's the things: correct graph appropriate. So I don't know how tough they are with penalizing graphs. I mean, this one I know it's a bit wonky. I would probably just try and get a smooth curve and to get that get the shape of it right. Now this is not too bad. Like if you do something like this, I'd be worried. All right, so let me I should have actually tried and smooth this out. Let me see if this actually works. Yeah, that's still a bit challenging. Oh no, I screwed it up at the end. Oops. But you know, you get trying to draw with stylus is not fun. So for merit grade, they want a correct graph, and also they want a table of values with 3 correct values. Now we've given 3 correct values, and we've kind of got a wonky as graph here. Yeah, so let me just twink. Let's just get rid of that last part there. There we go. That looks much better. So that one there is worth a merit. And let's go to the next question. So with the next question here, what we've got here is we've got to write the equation that represents these things over 2 days, over 7 days. Okay, so what you can do is there is a couple of ways of doing this, but the formula that I've been kind of showing people is the y equals ARX plus C. Now, this particular formula is, it just works, all right? So if you actually put in 0 and 4, and what you should be able to do is you should actually be able to kind of work through these points, but we're going to use simultaneous equations, all right? So at the moment, I'm going to use 1, 8 and 2, 16. So basically what that means is I am going to go, well, we can actually use 0, it's fine. So we're going to go 4 equals A times R. Now we actually need to figure out what R is. And to figure out what R is, what you need to do is you need to have a look at what's happening to these numbers here. So here I'm adding 4, here I'm adding 8, and then I'm adding 16 and 32. And if you look at all of these numbers and see what happens to them, they are getting multiplied by 2. So because they're getting multiplied by 2, we can say that R is equal to 2. So I'm going to put this as 2. Now x is equal to 0 plus c. So we're going to get 4 equals 2 to the power of 0 is 1. We're going to get 4 equals a plus c. So that's the first equation. So this is from the first point, 0, 4. Then I'm going to use point 18. So I'm going to get 8 equals a, 2 to the power of 1 plus c. So I'm going to get 8 equals 2a plus c. So at this point, I've actually got 2 simultaneous equations. So a plus c equals 4, and 2a plus c equals 8. So at this point, I could subtract the 2 equations. So 2a minus a is a, c minus c is 0, 8 minus 4 is positive 4. So that basically means a is equal to 4. Now, if you're wondering how I did that, so when I subtract, I'm actually changing every symbol to the opposite symbol. So this is how I get c minus c is 0, 8 minus 4 is 4. So once I get a is equal to 4, I can go to my first equation, which is a plus c equals to 4, and I'm going to put 4 plus c equals 4. which means c is equal to 0. So the equation that I have here is a equals 4 times 2 to the power of x. But of course, in this question, they've actually got the letter d and a. So we're simply going to replace that. So we're going to rewrite this as a is equal to 4 times 2 to the power of d. So grades-wise, this particular question is worth merit for the final part. And if you write an equation that is exponential with base 2, then you could potentially get an achieved, even if it's the wrong equation. All right, now they don't actually mention anything about writing it in this format here with the y equals 4 to the power of 2x. I know in previous years they've actually said that that format is fine, but I would just be on the precautionary side. I would actually put the a and d as those are the things that are highlighted. Okay, so let's go to question 2. So with question 2, what we have is the first thing that we need to write is like we're going to be comparing similarities and differences between the area of bacteria C. So bacteria C and a different type of bacteria. So the first one is 4 times 2 to the power of x. And the second one is, what do we have? Second one is that increases in size by 3 times bacteria C's area. So in other words, what we have here is it, well, the second equation is just going to look like this, because if it's 3 times, so it's just going to be 3 times 4, 2x. And it's actually saying that provide at least 3 statements, okay? So what you can do is we can actually go into our graph mode and kind of have a look at what's happening to these 2 graphs. So our first graph is already there. Then we're going to get our second graph, which is 12 multiplied by 2 to the power of x. And we could draw both of them. Shift zoom. I want to zoom out. Really? I got to do this again and again? That's a lot of work. Okay, you know what? Let's do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to go into a table. And let's go table. Why is it not picking up? Let's try this again. 12 multiplied by 2 to the power of x. Syntax error. Oh, yep, I see it. So as you guys can see, what it does is it actually puts both of these tables right next to each other. And what you can do is you can actually copy this table and put it right next to each other and kind of compare them as well. So you can actually write this table down in the exam because that is one of, it's actually called one statement. It's really weird. Even though it's a table, they're considering it as a bullet point, which is really strange. But yeah, so what's going to happen is we've actually got the first one, that y-intercept is going to be, there's going to be an intercept at 0, 12. All right, so for the different type of bacteria, so we're going to say that our first bullet point is y-intercept is 12. So that's one of the statements. The steepness of the graph is actually going to increase because of that a value. All right, so we can actually say steepness of the graph. Steepness increases for the second graph. We are going to have horizontal asymptote is still going to be down at 0. So horizontal asymptote. is 0, or you can actually say is going to be the same as for both graphs. All right, and then we can also give the equation for the fourth graph, which I've kind of done already here, but which is basically saying equation of the graph is equal to 12 times 2 to the power of x. So how does this work for grades? I'm just going to put down for excellence, you're going to need 2 statements and an equation. 1 equation, or you could actually give 3 statements. For merit, you're looking at 2 statements, and for achieved, you're looking at 1 statement. Yeah, really strange that they ask you to provide 3 statements, and then after that, you pretty much can just write an equation and it actually gets counted. Hey, that's tables, equations, and graphs for you. All right, so let's go to the next question. So what's happening with the next question is after the 7-day period, it is dying and the area covered is decreasing by 20%. So we are going to go back to our original table, and I think we only have it up to 6 days. So I'm going to kind of continue that. So it's going to be 128, 256, 512. So at day 7, the area covered is 512. So I'm going to go back and put this here as basically I'm going to create a new table, area, the day and area. So in day 7, it was 512. That's the first thing I need to know. Now it says that it's decreasing by 80%, and we want to figure out what's happening to this this graph as it actually comes down. Okay, so in other words, we've got, when it comes to day 8, our ratio is that it's decreased by 20%. So if it's decreased by 20%, what we can do is we actually have to go 20% of 512 and then subtract it from 512. So we're going to go 512 minus 102.4. So that's what 20%, taking away 20% means. Now the shortcut of doing this is we could actually just go 512 times 0.8. This is going back to number and working with percentages. So day 8, it's going to be 409.6. Day 9 is going to be 409.6 times 0.8, which is 327.68. Normally, it's a really good idea to give like 3 values in a table. That seems to be like the standard bearer, but in this case, I'm just going to put another one in there for 10. So times 0.8, and it's going to be 262.144. Now, here's the thing. What they're asking is they're going to asking what happens to the area of the bacteria over a long period of time. And I'm just looking at this. What's a really good idea is, like in this case, is you've got a table. You could draw it as this is like I'm looking at the schedule here, and the schedule actually says situation supported with table and graph and equation and valid comment. So you've actually got to do all 3, which kind of sucks. But do they actually give you a graph? Actually, no, they do give you a grid to kind of draw that in. Wow, okay, that's super annoying, but anyway, basically we've got the table. We need to come up with the equation for this. Now the one thing that I'm going to kind of go is, if I was to follow this pattern, like this pattern that's been given, I already know that R is equal to 0.8. So I'm going to come up with the equation, which is y equals ARX plus C. And I'm going to choose the point 7, 512. So when I choose 7, 512, I'm going to get 512 equals A times 0.8 to the power of 7 plus C. Now this particular equation is going to turn ugly, but we've got a calculator, and so it's going to work out pretty fine. And I'll show you guys how to do that. So then you've got 8 and 409.6. So we're going to have our second equation, which is 409.6 equals A times 0.8 to the power of 8 plus C. All right. So at this point, we actually have a set of simultaneous equations. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this as 0.8 to the power of 7a plus c equals 512 as my first equation. And my second equation is 0.8 to the power of 8 times a plus c equals 409.6. So once again, I can actually just use, like I could actually use simultaneous equations and subtract it and I can get it. Or I'm just too lazy this morning and I'm just going to go straight into simultaneous equations. Number of unknowns is 2. And I'm going to put down 0.8 to the power of 7. So that already works it out. C is 1. And this one here I'm going to put it as 512. Then I've got 0.8 to the power of 8. C is 1. And I've got 409.6. So calculating this, I've actually got my A and C value. So I can pretty much write this equation as y is equal to this ugly number, which is 244 I'm just going to write the whole thing. R to the power of x, or in this case, it's going to be d. And of course, I shouldn't have that as y. That should be a. And I also know what my r value is, which is 0.8. So that's the equation there. And as for the table, we've got the table. As for the graph, what you need to do is you basically need to sketch the graph for over a longer period of time. So basically what's going to happen here is you are going to have to draw a graph. All right, sorry, I'm just going to sketch this real quickly because I'm mindful of time, and it's basically all you're doing is like that first graph that we had. So what I'm talking about, the first graph is this table. You've got to draw that for 0 to 7 first. All right, so when we do that for 0 to 7, obviously you're going to have a grid to work with. I'm just kind of rushing this through at the moment. So 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on. So if I remember, I think it was 5 was at 512. So 5 is at 512, somewhere there. And I think it was 0 was, sorry, I just got to go quickly back, 4 and 8. Yeah, so basically you're going to end up with a graph that looks like something like this. But, for you guys, just plot those points. And the other one is going to end up looking something like this. Oh, I just realized what I did. That should be at 7, not 7. It should be at 512. Yeah, so it's going to basically look like two exponential curves that looks like this. But of course, when you guys draw it, just use those tables and get the rough points in there and you should be good to go. So for this question, for excellence, you need the graph, you need the table and the equation, and you also need a valid comment. So we're going to need a comment for this as well. And the comment is, you can kind of see that here, as number of days increases, the area decreases. The area decreases. But maybe mentioning that it doesn't actually go to 0 because of the asymptote. So I might just write something like that, but never goes to 0. Because 0 is an asymptote. So yeah, so basically that's what you need for excellence. You need all of those four things. For merit, you can get an attempt at the graph and a comment and a table. So you basically, for merit, you could have a table or a graph or comment. So two of them you need. And then for achieved, you need either one table or graph or comment. So one of those things will get you an achieved, two of those things will get you a merit, but you need all four by the looks of it to get an excellence. All right, let's go to the next question. So, Shorty has $70 saved, gets a part-time job on the weekends, she earns $30 per week. Okay, so basically what we can do is we can actually draw just a table. So a table, or we can just go straight into the graph. All right, she already has $70 saved, so that is going to be there. And when she gets a part-time job, she earns $30 per week and receives the pay at the end of each week. So at the end of the first week, she's got $30, so that's going to be 100. Then we've got 130, 160, 100. I think I've missed a line. So 190. And we've done it for the first 4 weeks after she started her job. So now this right here is going to give you an achieved. You can draw it as a straight line, but just remember that it is a discrete, it is a bunch of points that she's getting paid at the end of each week. So we're going to actually leave it like that. All right, so the second part of the question what is she doing? Breaks a leg, unable to work for 3 weeks. Yeah. So the second part of the week, the story is that she's actually broken her leg for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, she is not getting any money that she's actually saved. So that means I'm going to go back to this one. Week 5, no pay. Week 6, no pay. Week 7, no pay. So that's 3 weeks she's actually injured for. And then she starts saving $60 per week after that. So that means, because she's saving $60 after that, she has 190, she goes to 250. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hope this is right. 310. 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're literally going to keep doing that. 8 to 14. Okay, so we might as well kind of go all the way. I might make a mistake here, but 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A good idea is to kind of have like a ruler and draw it, but as I said, a little bit more challenging to do with a stylus and a tablet. All right. So we've got the rough idea of these little points here, but the problem is that we've got to try and rewrite these as a little step graph. And so the way that the step graphs actually work is this. Now we've actually got them as bullet points at the moment. So we're going to redraw them as step graphs. So with Keita, what's happening is that she's got the same amount of money until then, but in week 1, it jumps to 100. So then it's gonna go in like this, and a circle, this one, and a circle, because she's jumping at the end of each week. However, when we get to this point here, at the end of week 8, she's gonna have another little jump. And basically from this point onwards, we simply have to do an open end point at the end of each week, because at the end of each week she's actually getting a pay rise. And because she's getting a pay rise, it is going to be a little hole there, and it's kind of like jumps through. So basically the filled dot means that she's getting paid, and the open hole means that it's actually, the graph is actually jumping through. So this is what you're going to be having to look at for part B to get an excellence. To get an excellence, you got to have step graph with correct endpoint indicators. But if you just draw the graphs, you're going to get achieved is, as I said, it's like doing one part of it right. Merit is doing both of them. But excellence is actually doing the end parts correct. Okay, so let's go to part 2. Part 2 is, it actually asks for the equations of the amount of money saved between 8 and 14. So that one, what I'm going to do is, I straight away know that, so what's happening here? I've lost my pen. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. So what we have is, we already know that she's saving $60 per week, all right? So we can actually say that M equals 60W plus C, because we know she's saving 60 per week. And because of that, what we could also do then is we could actually figure out how much she has, like how many, how do I say it? How much money she has at the end of each week. So if you look at the 8th week, she's got $250. So 8th week is 250. So we simply put 250 equals 60 times 8 plus C. Wait, am I doing something wrong here? Let's try it out. 60 times 8 is going to be 480 plus C, and C is equal to 250, take away 480, which gives us negative 230. So the equation that I'm going to get is 60W minus 230. So that's actually using the dots right there. And so for this one, your grade is going to be a merit. Something's up with my pens, which is really weird. And for achieved, you are looking at either getting the gradient correct or the y-intercept correct. All right, going to the next question. Let me just double check. Go. Lovely, we've got another person actually joining the trip. Okay guys, so with this question here, Dylan, good old Dylan, what is he doing? Cost of Dylan's trip is 550. Trip begins at end of week 14. He starts saving 4 weeks after Keita does. So basically, we've got a whole bunch of information, and we need to put that in a table and an equation and try and work it out. So maximum per week is 500. All right, guys. So this question is a bit of a strange question, and the reason I call it a strange question is because uh, Dylan wants to save $550, right? So he wants to save $550, and what we have is we've got a couple of options. So he can actually save a minimum of $50, or he can save a maximum of $100. And it says that use a table and graph, investigate possible savings plan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down all the weeks. So he starts saving 4 weeks after Keita does. All right. So that means at the end of, like, after 4 weeks, he's not getting anything. So we're going to put down in the table, we're going to put down weeks. Let's see. Oh, I'm really having some issues today, aren't I? So this is, we're going to put down weeks, and we're going to put down number of money he earns, and we're going to put this as saved. So what we know is that we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. All right. So with the dollars saved, he knows that 2 weeks after he starts saving, his family is coming to visit, so he can't save for 3 weeks during the saves. So basically that means that he's not saving any money in week 7, 8, and 9. And that's because he's got family visiting, and he can't save anything for 3 weeks. So basically at this point, we can chuck in 50 and 100 anywhere we like. Because this particular question, it says investigate a possible savings plan. But as long as our total is actually 550, then we can pretty much do any kind of combinations here. And that generally is the case with investigations. So let's say we start with 100, then that means he saved $100. Let's go with another 100. He saves 200. We can literally keep doing that. All right. We could actually go 100. He saves 300 because there's no kind of money he's actually saved between week 7 to 8. So that's all going to be 200. Let's say he saves another 100. That's going to be 400. And of course, I want to save it to 550. So I might actually put this as 50, which is 450. Another 50 could give me 500. Another 50 gives me 550. Does it actually say he needs to save 550 at the end of that? Well, you might actually, yeah, we could actually do this as well. Like, this is an option. So he could actually have saved 100 after week 12 to get 500, get 50, 550, and then week 14 he gets nothing, which means he actually stays at 550. So this is what they mean by possible savings plan. So you could actually have multiple different answers actually going down for this. And again, in the answer schedule, they do say that, like, there's various saving plans you could potentially have. But to get achieved, you need one of the table or a graph or a consistent graph from incorrect table. So we've got a graph. We haven't done a graph yet, so we're going to actually so we're now going to actually put this as a graph. So when we put this as a graph, what's happening is he's actually saved no money from, well, he only starts saving from the 5th week onwards. So the 5th week, we've actually put it as 100. So that's going to be a closed one, and we're going to go all the way to 6th week, and we're going to open it up. 6th week, he saves $200, so that's going to be there. And that's going to go into open hole. But the problem is, it's like he doesn't actually move till the 10th week. So because he's not getting any money in the 7th week, he's going to be still at 200. 8th, 9th, 10th week, because in the 10th week he gets paid which actually pushes him up to 300. So from there to there, it's 100, and then he's got 400 at the end of week 12. He gets 500. And then in week 13, he gets to 550. And of course, at week 14, it's going to be a filled one. All right, guys, so that's basically it for this question here. So we don't really have to do anything else. We've done the graph, we've done the table, and we've actually given a clear, valid representation of the plan, which is basically the table itself. So that is going to get you an excellence grade. And we are pretty much done for this paper. As mentioned before, with this type of paper, you can actually put tables, equations, or graphs to actually solve some of the questions, but it's a bit tricky because this paper, they've actually mixed it up where sometimes you need both tables and graphs and equations. Every year they seem to be doing some kind of slight modifications to this paper. So to play it safe, you know, just have a look at the question and see where it's coming under. So usually if it's kind of in the middle of the paper, it ends up being an excellence question, so you might need to add a bit more detail to it. As I said before, question 1, I've done it a bit more detail in the tutorial. Unfortunately, question 2 and 3, I just have to rush through this year. I do apologize about that. But if you do have any questions, drop it in the comment section below, or just reach out to me on the socials, and I'll try and help you out there. Hey guys, that is basically it for this video. As always, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and of course, subscribe to keep up with the latest content. There should be some playlists popping up. Check them out. Good revision material. And as always, thank you for watching.